Seems so. The core demands of Hamas are a permanent end to the fighting in Gaza and a full withdrawal of all Israeli troops. But now Hamas appears willing to accept a more gradual approach. It's not dropping these demands, but it looks like it won't insist on them up front at the beginning or early stages of a ceasefire. Now, NPR is hearing this from Egyptian officials close to the talks. The Israeli media and many Arab outlets are reporting the same. So the talks are resuming in Cairo, and we also expect them to be held in Qatar.
NPR News, citation, excerpt from 91.7 FM.
Yes, they are. And the first phase calls for a 6-week ceasefire and an exchange of Israeli hostages and Palestinian detainees. Now, both sides seem supportive of these general principles and have good reason to do so. Gaza is in tatters. Sunday marked 9 months since the war began. The civilians in Gaza desperately need a breather and more aid to come in. In Israel, demonstrators held nationwide protests Sunday, part of ongoing marches, calling for a ceasefire to bring back at least some of the 120 Israeli hostages, so both sides could get some tangible things they want in this first phase of the deal.
What would happen in later phases?
Well, that's when you start to run into some irreconcilable positions. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu put out a statement Sunday saying Israel retains the right to resume fighting until it achieves its objectives. And for him, that means defeating Hamas politically and militarily. And he also said he expects Israel to have an extended army presence in Gaza. So even if we get some progress or a deal for this initial 6-week ceasefire, you can see the same obstacles emerging as they look to a more permanent deal to end the war. And meanwhile, the daily fighting in Gaza just carries on.
Well, let's be specific about that. I know you pay close attention. What is happening there now?
Yeah, Steve, something really jumped out at me over the weekend. You know, the Israeli military recently took a small group of journalists into Rafah. That's the city on Gaza's southern border with Egypt. Now, NPR wasn't among them, but we do have access to the shared video footage. And the Israeli invasion in Rafah, directed at Hamas, has turned that city into a scene of utter devastation. Buildings reduced to rubble, the streets are all chewed up, and this is what was striking, there's an absence of Palestinians in Rafah. The journalists spent about 3 hours there, and they didn't see everything, but they didn't see a single Palestinian. The UN said recently that Rafah's population peaked at about 1.4 million earlier this year, and now it's down to about 50,000 as people have fled, seeking shelter elsewhere. So this is a city that was just bursting at the seams with all these tent camps a few months ago. Now it's mostly empty.
This is really profound, Greg, because we were told it was impossible for people to move out of there. It sounds like virtually all people have moved out of there. And I guess we should also note that means this is an enormous number of people who've been forced, in many cases, to relocate again, not for the first time.
Oh,
War crimes, Israel, let's be honest about it. They are not handling things the way it should be handled. And it's about to get worse for them if Iran get in the mix. So they better cool their heels. Yeah, they better cool themselves down and go ahead, calm this situation down. It's crazy all this stuff going on. But a lot of it's been foretold. As long as there's wars and rumors of wars, be not alarmed. When they start talking of world peace, that's when the Lord about to bust the skies. Yah is on his way back. Well, you heard it here first, folks. Fivefold bringing you the news. Peace. Be blessed.